Hello, Internet, and welcome back to the Free-to-Play cast from MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, with a fine collection of Home Depot boxes for you to enjoy in the background. Still in the process of moving in, just about done, but you'll get to see it evolve over a week or two, I guess. Won't that be exciting? This is episode 172. We're recording on the 8th of March, 2016. You'll be watching it on the 10th or later. We've got a lot to cover since it's been 2 weeks, especially a lot of feedback on our question of the week last week. But before we get to the news, let's check in with the hosts. How are you, Jason Winter?
I'm actually a little messed up right now because I realize my webcam is kind of off to the side. Usually I have it in the center on top of my monitor. But now that you've already set the camera angles, I can't mess with it. And I'm going to be all cross-eyed the whole cast. Please, everybody, just...
It's going to influence the OCD that Jason's got going. This isn't centered. It's killing me.
Well, it's just like, where do my eyes go? Do I look straight ahead? Do I look at the camera? What
Always look at the camera, brother. Always look at the camera.
Whatever.
Also on the line, Domino. IQ, Quidlin Bowers. How are you?
I'm okay, and my camera's always off-center.
So you're used to it.
Yeah.
Always used to it.
How do you live, you savages?
It's either it has to be off-center or you see my bathroom.
Mine is slightly off-center when compared to the center of my monitor, but that's just because otherwise the shot becomes a wall that's over here. And
Right, so you can either see the cat or see the bathroom.
I think the viewers like the cat. Jason's already pointed out Domino is an instant plus 1,000 views on YouTube. Just
cat videos.
That valuable.
That's how it is.
And don't be surprised if Whiskers, my cat, somehow at some point jumps into the shot. It just seems likely. She loves the new desk. But let's slide over to the news and get started. All right, so let's start with the bad news so then we can move into the good news. We always have to talk about shutdowns and closures and things like that. Most of the time, they're not generally a surprise, but this one kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And we got 2 shutdown/closures to talk about. Let's see what you guys think of them. First one, let's start with the smaller of the two. In my book, DarkScape, that was the hardcore PvP RuneScape-y thing, right, Jason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was basically, like you said, they recreated RuneScape with a new world where it was going to be, like I said, hardcore PvP, corpse killing. They tried to have a complex economy where, you could go and get stuff in a more dangerous area. If you could get it back, you could sell it for more, and it would have a lot of interactions between everything. And yeah, it was only about 6 months that it went, and they just decided, nope, that's enough. It didn't work. We're getting rid of it.
Yeah, and they're going to take, this was the odd thing that I thought, they're going to take some of the lessons they learned in PvPQ and apply them to RuneScape. Do you really learn that many lessons in 6 months from a game that you're closing down because, and these are their words, not just our speculation, we just don't have enough people playing it?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they got out of that aside from spending money they could have spent somewhere else.
And I mean, they're already pouring tons of money into the RuneScape franchise and spin-offs. We talked about that an episode or 2 ago with Zach.
I was going to say, they flew Zach out there. That couldn't have been cheap.
Right. I mean, this one. So here's my question on this one, because in theory, DarkScape provided a lot of features that we constantly hear clamored for, right? A hearkening back to a hardcore PvP, and a permadeath, and a full looting, and a this and a this. They're all the things that players of MMOs gone by have said, oh, it'd be really great if new games would have this. And every time we see it implemented, or pieces of it implemented in new games, Jason, it just doesn't work well. It doesn't capture the attention of anybody. It's one of those things that we want, and then when we get, we're like, yeah, I probably didn't want that as much as I thought I did.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think it works overall in the MMO landscape right now. I mean, there are still some games out there that are going to try to do stuff like that, like Camelot Unchained and whatever. But I mean, I think it's better served in games like survival games, like your DayZ and that kind of things, where it doesn't have that kind of MMO progression and complex building up of your economy and your character and so on. So that it doesn't hurt as much when you die and you lose all your stuff. You just go back, get geared back up in half an hour, 45 minutes. So And obviously, different games do different aspects of this. I don't know exactly how perma and completely character wiping it was to die in RuneScape. I know in a game like Elder Scrolls Online, in their PvP area, they have a thing where you lose some of your stuff, or you have a chance to lose some of it, so it's not like a total loss of everything you were carrying when you die. So depending on how that is, it can maybe work in an MMO, but I think you just can't take it to the major extremes of yesteryear and have that be successful.
Was it the feature set queue, or was it the fact that this was a RuneScape spin-off, so it was a new thing built on a very old system that killed this?
I really think what it is the people who are like, oh, hey, I would really like to have this thing that we had, 10, 15, 20 years ago. We all tend to forget that we're really not in positions to invest in those games like we did. Most of the people that are clamoring for that, for the good old days, have things like jobs and kids and stuff like that, and then they're given permadeath, hardcore gameplay, and suddenly realize that they have no time for that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it is a substantial time investment, particularly if you're constantly being resetted, if you're terrible like I would be.
The other way I like to think about that too is like if you were in high school or college and you had a really bad job, some minimum wage thing where your boss was an idiot and all that stuff. Maybe 10 years down the line, you talk to your buddies who worked that job with you and say, "Man, it was good that we got through that and we were, we really persevered. And you remember when he did this stupid thing? Yeah, that was so funny. That was great." That doesn't mean you want to go back to that job. You're happy to have your $35,000, $40,000 a year office job now. You don't want to go back to this $8 an hour crappy working in a movie theater. You can remember fondly some of the good memories from that, but you don't want to do it again.
Yeah, and this one didn't surprise me. It was kind of an odd thing that came out of nowhere, and I think when Jason, you were the one that wrote this up first, when it was first announced, both of us were just kind of like, oh, well, that's weird. Okay, yeah.
It was sort of thing where I was like, I hope it just didn't take a whole lot of money or time. And actually, according to one of the comments on the article, the Shutdown article, one guy said, developers didn't even try hard to make it a success. They half-assed updates, another half-assed update, so apparently they didn't put a whole lot into it.
Very confusing little endeavor from Jagex. It didn't make sense when they did it, unless, and this is kind of like the pass we got on it, because it was one of those things like, well, should we cover this or not? Yeah, it's free to play, but this can't last long. And so
that's never stopped us before.
Right. So we were like, yeah, we'll cover it and whatever. But it's one of those things that it's like, by looking at it, I kind of went, well, I don't see that lasting long. But maybe within the huge RuneScape player base, there's a lot of people that want that, and I'm just not in tune with RuneScape enough to know that. And clearly Jagex is, so maybe that's why they're making this decision, and it appears that that wasn't the case either. So I'm not quite sure where it came from, and I'm not surprised at it. This one I am surprised at, though. This isn't just a game disappearing. This is potentially, and almost certainly, the way it's being worded, a studio shutdown that I'm not surprised that the studio itself, and Q and I have talked about this behind the scenes, I'm not exactly surprised that the studio is going away at this point. I thought it would just kind of be enveloped into another studio, though, not just totally shut down. So what are we talking about? Fable Legends, the free-to-play Fable franchise game that was supposed to come out, actually we're supposed to get access this spring to the game, is flat out canceled. Off the board. And Lionhead Studios, the team behind it, now keep in mind they only work on one IP, and that's the Fable franchise, the Fable IP. That studio is under talks to shut down, with Microsoft trying to assist in relocating some of those employees to other areas or helping them find jobs in the industry. We never are happy with the layoffs, and of course we wish everybody at Lionhead Studios the best. Very creative team. I'm surprised they've lasted as long as they have. One, with Peter Molyneux out, and two, only being in charge of one IP. I'm kind of surprised they stuck around as an independent studio this long. But Fable Legends, off the board, and we don't even really know why, besides the assumption of cost versus potential profit, right, Jason?
Yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot in terms of exact reasoning. Just as you said, we can only assume that they looked at it and said it just wasn't going to be worth it, so there it goes.
At this point, though, Q, I mean, this thing, we were supposed to have access to this just a few months from now. This wasn't a project that, something like Titan, where they worked on it for 5 or 6 years. Nobody had gotten access to it. It didn't have even a beta or a release date, and then Blizzard decides to scrap it. That type of stuff makes sense to me, but this one, as far as we knew, was at the end of its development and was getting ready to allow players to come in for beta testing. There actually were players, as if I understand correctly, doing some sort of alpha testing, although that would be very limited. What is the harm at that point in at least trying to recoup some of the money? Or I don't get this one. It's like, hey, we're releasing next month. Oh, by the way, we're canceled. It just seems like an odd decision.
Yeah, well, I don't know. This is one of those things where I never quite understand what business people are thinking. But no, obviously, it's like, okay, so the amount of money that you've already sunk into this, you would want to at least try to make money back off of it, I would think. Whereas, like you said, with Titan, right, they were X amount of years into it or whatever. They didn't waste that. They turned around and used it to make Overwatch. Like, not everything, but a lot of the assets and stuff went from Titan to Overwatch. So they didn't waste all their research and development and whatever, that they put into it. I don't know, unless Microsoft is like planning on turning around and using this for something else. But I did know someone I follow on Twitter was talking about the fact that when Microsoft forces people to use Xbox logins to play games on PC, they're pretty much effectively killing the game right from the start. So, that's like one of the theories that's kind of now going around, that what people apparently, like, I guess, weren't reacting well to that particular feature or something for, a game that you kind of do online and all of that. I mean, there's a million reasons they could have done it, but it's just bizarre to me.
I don't know if it's in the exact same category, but you look at a game like Gigantic also having its issues and having to be a Windows 10 exclusive, and
That was something I was just about to say. As soon as something gets Windows 10 exclusive on it, it seems to die.
Mm-hmm. And that may be it, like I said, with that and these still requiring you to have an Xbox login to play a game online on PC. Like, that could be one of the problems that they're having with these things.
Would that affect
bad management on all their parts, too. I mean, the Gigantic thing just kind of seemed like bad management of money from the way that went down.
Yeah, and it got an update recently.
Yeah, well, they finally dropped their NDA and they're actually showing it off to people, too, so who knew?
I mean, I have to give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt here, logic-wise, at the very least. You don't make the type of money that company does by making nothing but bad decisions. I'm not going to say every decision's been right, but I have to think that they looked at the product and just said, you know what, even though we may be at what we perceived to be the end of our development cycle, there's just not enough here that we think players are going to enjoy enough to try and recoup some money. So, I mean, there had to have been something they looked at product-wise and just said, we can't do it. Or maybe, there's an internal discussion about, hey, Q, summer or spring isn't going to work for us. We need to talk about a delay into winter or possibly even 2017, and Microsoft saying, okay, enough is enough at that point.
That's possible, but I mean, when you say that Microsoft hasn't, obviously doesn't make all bad decisions, or, they wouldn't be making the money they make, remember that most of their prior decisions were not game related. I mean, Microsoft is more than just a game company. A lot of their gaming decisions have failed horribly.
That's fair. That's fair. I can't even argue with you on that. That's absolutely fair. Sad to see Lionhead go. I gotta believe this isn't the end for Fable, though, Jason.
Yeah, somehow it's been a popular enough property. It's been around long enough that somehow someone's going to put it back together. Maybe even some of the former people at Lionhead, maybe forming their own company and buying the rights, and maybe even making Fable Legends if they feel like they can get around to it.
Hey, I'm sure that Peter Molyneux would like to put his name on something that does well.
Or something that actually gets released.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Didn't his iOS Cube box, whatever it was, game actually get released?
All I read was a headline about 2 weeks ago saying Godus is still a mess.
Yeah. That was what? Curiosity. Wasn't that what it was called? I might have the title wrong. Yeah, where everybody could just chip away at this box in the room, and eventually somebody would open the box, and they were the ones that ran because it was a promotion for Goddess.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't award the prize to the guy.
Yeah, and the guy never got the prize because the game didn't launch. You got to do all this work, and you would be God for X amount of time, and they'd fly you out, and you could make all these decisions about Goddess, the game, and everything, and yeah, that didn't pan out. But that launched. Yeah, you're right. Technically, that that game launched, Q. On the flip side of things, let's go to the good side of things. Updates and launches all over the board in the last week and a half or so. Got to start with what I think is the biggest one, personally, Path of Exile's Ascendancy expansion. That game from Grinding Gear Games just continues to impress, continues to add. I haven't seen one update from them where I'm just like, oh, well, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I really like everything they're doing in this game with the traps now and the shifting labyrinth and the leaderboard. The game just continues to impress. It still is one of the shining examples of free-to-play done right. And yes, those were air quotes on there because we have no idea how well the game actually does financially. There could be, I've heard the conspiracy theories of angel investors that just want to make havoc for other free-to-play games, so they just keep sinking money in. But I think at this point, it's safe to say Path of Exile is making money. Otherwise, we wouldn't see nearly the update schedule we do from this team. And it continues to impress the hell out of me. I love what they're doing with it. I can't say enough about it right now. I can't say
I wish I liked ARPGs
Just so
more.
gushy.
I did get a little gushy there. A little bit of love for Path of Exile. You don't like ARPGs, Jason?
Not really. Just all I get carpal tunnel from all the clicking I have to do, from all the loot and all. It's so much loot, bad inventory. You know how I am. Come on.
Q, you're an ARPG girl. You've played Diablo occasionally.
I do enjoy ARPGs. Yes. I don't mind the clicking. I already have carpal tunnel from cooking. So.
Have you delved into Path of Exile at all?
You know what? I did initially, when it originally launched and I was still at Game Breaker, and it ended up being one of those games that nobody at Game Breaker was messing with, so I just kind of went to do something else because I had nobody to do anything with.
I dig it. They keep impressing. The card thing got a little weird there with the Founders Packs, but whatever. You want to spend $5,000 on a game or even more? Who am I to tell you no? Who am I of all people to tell you no? Don't do it.
I'm not going to judge. I mean, if you spend $5,000 on a game, that means you're keeping somebody employed. So whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure Lionhead would like that right now. Layoffs suck. Been there. We talked about it on a previous show. Skyforge. One we don't talk about all that often, which to me is surprising. Can we segue on this one a little bit? Skyforge was like the game, and along with Armored Warfare and basically anything My.com related, that we got pressers for every day. Every day we got a My.com presser. And it was like Skyforge on Monday and Armored Warfare on Tuesday. On Wednesday it was both of them. Just every day, every day, every day. Now, Armored Warfare has reached the end of its testing cycle. You can go and play the game if you want. And we still get what I would consider to be a normal flow of news for a game. I think that's fair to say. Jason, you're more the Armored Warfare guy than I am, but as far as my watching the news fly by, it's more regular now, once every week, once every 2 weeks, here's a new update, here's a new tank, here's what we're doing type thing. But Skyforge just like dropped off the map totally in a lot of ways. And yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't Skyforge news. We covered the new, what was it, Q? The Oceanid invasion, which is their latest invasion. We covered the Night class, which is what we're going to talk about in just a second. So there is a little bit of news, but I don't hear dick about this game anymore. Unless I go looking for it or I happen to see it on Facebook, where their PR department used to pummel our email accounts. I'm kind of surprised, because to me, I didn't think there was that much wrong with the game. And to me, it seemed like something people would jump into and kind of enjoy for a while. But maybe the Skyforge hype train hit launch and just crashed into a wall. I don't know. What happened, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, just from my personal experience, it's kind of like that. Like, I played it pretty solidly for about like 2 months maybe. And then I was just like,
Yeah, your prestige was way above mine.
Well, yeah, but it still wasn't that much. I was like 6,000 or 7,000 or so. And then I get a press release that says, we can do this new awesome content. And I was like, great, that sounds like fun. All you need is 30,000 prestige to get into the thing. And I was like, oh, really? I have 7,000, and I'm going to have to play for another, like, 6 months before I unlock enough. Now, I'd see people in game with, 15, 20, 25,000. The people who were just, like, berserk getting into it, right from the start. I put in, like, 40 or 50 hours and was going along okay. But to just see that, and to see what this huge mountain was that I had to do. And I know I would have to just repeat these same dungeons over and over. It gets very repetitive after a little while. You have to do a lot of the same content.
Yeah,
and I just got to the point of thinking, I would just rather do something else, know?
I enjoy games like that, though. I mean, I played Phantasy Star Online for a long time. Let's not get started on PSO2, Jason, because I know you want to go there, but we're not going to go there. It's got to release. It has to. It's never going to, though. And PSO is that same type of deal. You're on the ARC ship, you port down to the same area, you run it, maybe you're allowed to go a little bit further in it this time. And so I'm okay with that play style. Okay, not a problem. I get what you're trying to do here. Q, did you ever jump into Skyforge? I don't remember ever talking to you about playing this one.
I have not. I mean, if I were going to play, it would probably be the new class, because I, do tanky classes, but it's, to be honest, with the exception of like ARPGs and stuff, I prefer games that are less fantasy based and more either contemporary or futuristic. So it's unless it's like ARPG or JRPG, I really don't hop into fantasy games that much anymore.
It's an RRPG, Russian role playing game. I just want to say one thing though. Talking about the PR. This isn't a new class. This has been in the game since launch, so they just decided to do a trailer.
Yeah, it was just a random weird trailer. It's not an update. I mean, the only reason I really wanted to talk about it is because, to me, Skyforge kind of disappeared.
This is what they have to do for PR now, is you just recycle their old news.
Yeah, and to get the class immediately, you got to go buy the collector's edition. Otherwise, it's the whole Ascension Atlas thing to open it up.
That turned a lot of people off. I don't know.
Skyforge just confuses me. I mean, they're showing off the night, which if you're playing the game, you probably already have the damn thing unlocked, but they're showing it off now as if it were brand new news.
Just in case you want to go watch the video.
Yeah, I don't know. Very weird. But I want to hear from Skyforge players. If you're playing Skyforge, it's been your game for a while now, or it's one that you play an awful lot of, I want to hear from you. Put it in the comments below. Let me know what is going on with the game. Is it still, the player base? Does it seem stable? Is it going up? Is it going down? Has it now leveled off to a reasonable amount because it's post-launch and the people that stuck around are stuck around? What is the game like? I just don't hear anything about it anymore, with the exception of stuff that really isn't news, like the Night class. Very confusing. Let me know what's going on with the game, your thoughts. Put it in the comments below. We'd love to read them on next week's show. Speaking of games we've already talked about, we'll hit briefly here. ASTA, just to let you know, is officially now in open beta. So if you want to play the real version of ASTA, go for it. Open beta is live. Another ARPG, so Jason's never going to play it.
It's an Asian ARPG. Even, so
It's an AARPG. Now it's starting to sound like a support group.
all it needs to do is add a MOBA element, and I'll be completely shut it off.
Echo of Soul, however, does have legitimately a new update being launched on March 23rd. It's going to do a bunch of things. Raising the level cap from 60 to 70, new solo and instance dungeons, new character enhancement, gear, skills, lots of new quests, new story elements in the works. Of course, I'll be honest, I haven't played Echo of Soul since the first look. I mean, I guess we should have talked about this one with Zach Sharps, it being his most favorite MMORPG.
Oh, you love this. I thought you loved it. I thought you just loved turning off your brain and going in for it. Or maybe that was Zach.
No, and I enjoyed it. I mean, it just wasn't enough to keep me interested. I really like, and I don't even know what it is. I like Echo of Soul's art style, but that comes from liking things like Dragon Quest, and I just like the art style. The game itself was relatively monotonous. Unplug your brain and play it. But it's not that I think it's a bad game. I think I gave it an average score when we reviewed it. Maybe a little less than average because some of the performance on the game was less than stellar as far as system specs and things like that. But yeah, there you go. If you're an Echo of Soul player, new level cap. Enjoy. Before we move over to the bombs, this is an oddball change. Jason, I'm going to let you talk us through this one. Guild Wars 2 is having some stability issues or people leaving I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Well, one person leaving. Colin Johanson, the game director for Guild Wars 2, is kind of like the face of the company in a lot of ways. He's like the main guy that people will get a chance to top guy, I guess I'd say, that people will get a chance to interact with and hear about the game and so on. He's leaving the company, apparently to pursue another opportunity so he can be closer to his family, or I think it's to support his wife a little better when she was before she was helping him out when he was still coming along. So he's trying to find something different. So he's left ArenaNet. Mike O'Brien, who is the president of ArenaNet, who also, of course, been there since day one pretty much, doing a lot of work on the original Guild Wars, he's going to step in now as the game director. And he said he's going to try to hire his replacement as president, although I thought I read something else that said he's going to look to hire a new game director, so I don't know how that's going to go. But in any case, they're definitely looking to get some new person to fill one of those top positions. But in the meantime, Mike did a very long AMA on Reddit on Friday, answered a lot of questions about the soon upcoming content, like in the next update coming in April. They're going to do another raid wing coming in like May or June. They just released the second raid wing today for the raid, so the third wing comes in May or June. New living stories starting up after that. And he just touched on a lot of different topics, all aspects of the game, scheduling, the different map stuff, items, living world, dungeons and fractals, raid, just a little bit of everything, whatever people asked him. And it was a really long and surprisingly informative communication from a company that we sometimes just don't hear a whole lot from and don't hear a whole lot of really honest, frank talk from. It can be really, we can go a while sometimes before getting an info dump like this. So there's like several pages of it on the various sites. The one I usually go to is Dolphy.net. She has a lot of Guild Wars 2 guides for a lot of different games. But yeah, I'm scrolling through now. There's like
does the change in leadership mean anything for the game, or can we expect this to be? I mean, these are both established guys. I would think that lends itself to business as usual. Just we're going to get somebody new in this other position.
Yeah, I don't think it's like, oh my God, the sky is falling kind of thing. Now people are leaving the sinking ship. There's always been people just walking away from ArenaNet here and there, and once or twice, every few months. They've ever had like big, huge mass layoffs of 30, 40, 50 people. I mean, in terms of a lot of stuff Mike talked about too, getting into all of that and talking about some of the things that were a lot of things that we really, as players, were wondering if they were working on, if they were aware of, if they were going to, try to fix or something like that. So hearing a lot of that is nice. It doesn't sound like necessarily like, oh, well, Colin wanted to do all this other stuff, but now here's how it's going to be. I'm going to do it differently. So I don't think that there's going to be some massive change on that front, that a lot of this was probably going to be in place or going to be implemented whether Colin or Mike was calling the shots on this. So, yeah, I think it's good that they came through and were open and honest about this and gave us all this information. But in general, it probably isn't going to have like a major impact on how the game's going to run.
If you want somebody to take Mike O'Brien's spot, I'm just saying, this
I-
guy right over here,
Right.
right over here,
Oh,
is
yeah,
this
right,
box
right.
next to me.
Well, I did. I
he
actually
would-
did interview Mike and Colin at PAX South last year, so they know who I am.
Well, now Mike can interview you for the
There you go.
job.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the one thing I didn't like about the announcement. I thought this was a little weird and has nothing to do with Colin or Mike in particular. They admitted to not really knowing what is going to be in next month's update as far as all the particulars. Kind of like we have a list of 50 things and we're just not sure how many of those 50 things are going to make it. I thought that was kind of a weird thing to say, Q. It's like, this isn't an update that's, 7 months away, an expansion. These are the things we want to do for the expansion, but we don't know what we're going to... This is next month's update. This should be pretty locked in at this point, shouldn't it?
I think that's kind of the way most game development actually runs, though. Is like they push to see what they can get in, and I'm pretty sure they have an outline of what it is that they would like to get in, but if they have this whole list, then it comes down to what actually does make it. I mean, think about it. Usually they put out a list, right? Like, oh, this is what we're expecting, and then you'll go get it and be like, oh, well, we didn't actually do all of that because we didn't have time, or this thing had some bug that we just couldn't get rid of. So I don't think it's unusual to admit, hey, we don't really know, but I don't think it's unusual that they actually don't 100% know.
It just struck me as kind of odd and kind of a thing. And I think the oddness comes from them saying it. I tend to agree with you that it's, all right, Jason, these are the 12 things we want, but if we're crunched for time, number 11 and 12 can come 2.5 weeks later. I get that, but it's just a weird thing to say, yeah, if you asked us right now what's going to be in next month's update, we don't know. Just see, it smacks of WildStar to me, and that didn't pan out too well. All right, let's go over to the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
Oh, I have a bomb just for the month of March because it seems that everything is getting an update, so everybody has something to do.
This is true. This is true. Lots of updates across the board. Mr. Winter.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to my futile attempts to try and get in some tank battling over the weekend.
So I saw the tweets.
Man, I was not happy. So I try to get into armored. I get into armored warfare, and I do like one battle on my APC, my armored personnel carrier. All right, fine. I get into that. Then I try to line up my main battle tank. I spend like 5 minutes in the queue, and I'm like, damn it, I can't get in at all. So I played another one with my SPG or my APC. Try to go back into the main battle tank. Can't get into a match. I just quit. I just rage quit that night. Go back in the next night. And I sit with my main battle tank again. It's a tier 3.
I'm sorry I'm laughing at your pain, but the tweets were amazing.
Tier 3 main battle tank. So you know how they have the little list where they say, here are your tiers, 1 through 8 or whatever when you're in queue. So after about 3 minutes, it goes down to having a match is found and a bunch of the numbers vanish. It goes down to 1 in the tier 3 category. So that's clearly me. So I think, okay, next match, I better get in. The numbers rise up, rise up, rise up. A bunch of people go out. I'm still not in a match. They go up and up and up again. They go out. I'm still not in a match. This is after 7 minutes, and I just say, fuck this. I'm done. So then the next day, I go and I patch up World of Tanks. I just want to do something, and I can't get that to launch. So it's like, but I didn't want to take the time to patch up War Thunder and bother with that, so I was just like, screw it.
At Winter Informal, March 6th, Armored Warfare would be a lot more fun if I could actually find a battle and not have to quit after waiting in queue for 7 minutes. Oh, all right.
I hope the community manager for Armored Warfare might say something to me, but I think he just avows knowledge. Knowledge of me. Excuse me.
Spunkify. Jason is very unhappy. I'm going to give a dub bomb to Magic Duels. I actually like this change. Magic Duels is increasing the gold drop for their PvP segment of the game, some of the PvP modes. Yeah, probably a little bit of this is to expedite the feeling of grind, but more importantly, it's to offset what was happening, where if you wanted to farm gold, you played the most difficult PvE version mode of the game over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And if you wanted to play that game to play against other people, you weren't doing that because you were too busy farming gold. So I really like this change. Now it gives you the option of, okay, both are going to be gold beneficial. Which way would I rather play? Just a good decision, and nice to see Magic Duels doing that. From the viewers, Lagwin1980 says, 2 DeBombs, make that 3. 1 DeBomb for, you guessed it, Path of Exile's new patch. Been playing for years, and these big, but not new act-adding patches have managed to excite me yet again with what is being added, especially the latest and last subclass announcement for the Scion class. 2nd DeBomb for Disgaea PC. Nostalgia is strong with this one, and very happy to see it finally ported to the PC, even though it probably deserves an A-bomb for its issues. I love the Disgaea series. Love it. Have all of them. And 3rd DeBomb for PS2 network adapter. Never did get to play Final Fantasy XI in the UK, but for some of the other games, Toka and Star Wars Battlefront, good times were had. Wow, that's a lot of bombs. Go ahead, Q.
Belladonna says, not to beat a dead horse, but I have an A-bomb for Tryon Worlds. Aww.
It's long dead.
I spent a pretty decent chunk of time in Trove when it was first released to the general public. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, but I still had fun. Pretty much every new update they've implemented since then has made the game significantly worse, especially the recent changes that they've made to the cash shop.
That's a dead horse. Oh, by the way, I have to add a dub-bomb to Jason Winter for pummeling me in winning putt yesterday on Bomb Live.
Oh, you should have seen the round I played last night, though. I was terrible.
Ugh.
I missed on a strength shot, and I burned all my
I
stamina.
haven't played a
second
golf game in a while that the swings are just wildly different round to round. It's fantastic.
You know, I think they finally repaired that dent you put in the sign, too.
Oh my god. Oh my god. If you don't know what we're talking about, go watch Bomb Live from yesterday on YouTube, or from Monday on YouTube. Go ahead, Jason.
All right, Forteg says, by the way, A-bomb to the guy who mentioned Trekkers for reminding me of the goddamn lectures my aunt used to give me about the difference between them and Trekkies. Seriously, she got really intense about it.
Was it you or was it Zach? I don't remember.
Must have been Zach. I don't think it was me.
Yeah, somebody said Trekkers. Shadow Wolf says...
Bad.
Yep. Shadow Wolf says, A-bomb to DC Universe Online PC/PS4 cross-platform. 2nd MMO done cross-play. The first cross-platform was Final Fantasy XIV. There's been a few more than that, but yeah, I don't really expect that one to be implemented well anyway. It wasn't that great on the PS3/PC crossover. Go ahead, Q.
Sky Shadow says, A-bomb to Heroes of the Storm players, not to be offensive.
Not the game, but players.
Yeah, but man, to wait for 45 minutes for a normal match just to start, then 1 or 2 players leave, it's just bad. But to wait playing with bots on the lowest difficulty tax, make 2 or 3 seconds, and then the match is at max and 10-minute match, this is getting boring really fast.
Uh-oh. A little bit of unhappiness in Heroes of the Stormville. Go ahead, Jason.
Frelms says, dub-bomb to Obsidian Entertainment. At least patch 0.13 rolled out for the happiness of us Care Bear PvE players. Yeah, but I wanted to find PvP matches, not a Care Bear. A-bomb to Obsidian Entertainment. Even though they fixed AI artillery focusing a single player for the whole match, now regular tanks can shoot you without even pointing their guns at you. I guess we can't have them all. What even? Huh?
I think it's pretty important that a tank game require you to aim.
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on there, Frums. You don't have to explain.
Well, you're our war correspondent. You're you're our Anderson Cooper. Oh my God, you are totally our Anderson Cooper.
Can I be Wolf Blitzer instead? That's a much better name.
You got the hair. We send you into Armored Warfare. We send you into World of Tanks, World of Warfare. You are totally our Anderson Cooper.
Oh God! Wait, what does that make me then?
There's things that cannot be unseen now, and that's going to be one of them. Now, we'll let the viewers pick who you and I are, Q. Let us know in the comments below. I know we're just asking for it there. Question of the week. We're going to send them into war-torn Tier 3 Armored Warfare country. Question of the week last week. What was your first MMORPG and why was it your first? Constantine says, my first MMO was World of Warcraft. I've played Diablo 2 until I watched a TV show where they showed some World of Warcraft gameplay. I thought that the cooperative element they showed So I grabbed it the first moment I could, created a Night Elf Druid, because that time I thought shape-shifting was a very cool addition to the gameplay. Later on I found out that Paladin is my class, so I spent about 4 more years maining him. Got more and more annoyed of the last patches, though, and eventually went looking for another game to play. I've spent the last 5 to 6 years looking for the excitement I had back then. There's that nostalgia, man.
Don't get it back.
It's a killer. It's a killer. Go ahead, Q.
Adonis, my first MMORPG was Tales of Pirates. Tears, old times.
Wow. There's a name. Go ahead, Jason.
To Cal, 23.99 says first MMO was Final Fantasy XIV because I love the Final Fantasy franchise, and it was what seems like the only MMO with controller support in mind natively, not just tacked on. So pretty new player. So everyone didn't just start out with WoW or played WoW for 5 years before moving on to something else.
Yep. Hodor says, MapleStory was my first MMO. I was a young child doing Lord knows what, then I came over it, probably from an ad.
I could see the real Hodor playing MapleStory. Hodor.
Go ahead, Q.
Dave Mads, been a gamer for as long as I can remember. All genre got me playing, but games like Secret of Mana 2, Chrono Trigger, SNES, Final Fantasy, Legend of Zelda caught my attention the most because it made me personally, not my character, feel like I was on a great epic adventure. My first MMO was Secret of Solstice. At Outspark, beautiful game, but didn't progress too far into it. Dial-up was a pain, especially when there was only one phone in the house. Years before SOS, though, I remembered stumbling onto Game Magazine with pictures of EverQuest, and that blonde elf looked so hot to me. And strangely enough, I had no idea what an MMO was back then. I was still rolling my old school consoles. Heck, I never even turned on a computer.
She is hot. She's hot. Go ahead, Anderson.
Speaking of using hot ladies to attract people to your MMOs, no words for Scarlet Blade going away? Oh.
Yeah, what else could we say besides Scarlet Blade closed?
Were we going to mourn that?
No.
Boobies the game?
Cameron Dodd says, EverQuest Online Adventures. I like the idea of EverQuest for PC, but didn't have a good understanding of PC yet. So when I saw EQOA, I was excited to go online and explore. I remember grinding in groups of randoms and just chit-chatting on my enchanter. Got myself in a good guild who offered to pay my sub, I was a broke 13-year-old, and also let me hold on to that magic shield was a rare farm. Back then, people worked together and trusted each other. Now all we have are trolls. Well, a little off-topic. No, not off-topic at all. It's your own bomb. It can be any topic you want. Bomb, question of the week, whatever.
I feel like it's like, well, back in my day, politicians were honest, and
when was that?
No,
like
they weren't.
24?
No, they weren't. Back in my day, everybody in MMOs worked together and trusted each other. You could hand Jason that rare sword and be counting on the fact that he'd give it back to you next Tuesday.
Old man Mike. Sitting on the porch in the rocking chair.
Get the hell off my lawn! Diggy04 says, question of the week, my first MMO is Ragnarok Online. I was 10 years old, still had no idea what online games were. Before, I've only played offline on computer as well as on my PlayStation 1. One day I followed my big brother into an internet cafe and everyone was playing this game. We got interested, my brother made an account. I had no idea what an account was. And I thought that if I play here, wouldn't I need to come back to this shop for to this very computer every time to continue my save. In the end, I understood the meaning of online, and the shop lady lent me her account to try before I made my own. Ragnarok Online still holds a place dear in my heart, which I still go back to play on private servers from time to time. RO is one of those games that always comes up in these discussions. Always.
Although I hear the shop lady lent you her account, I think that's against the terms of service. I believe she can get in big trouble for that.
Oh, dear God.
Come on.
Go ahead, Q.
From says, question of the week, first MMORPG was actually a MUD called The Legends of Darkstone, back in the good, not really, old days of dial-up. Well, at least the dial-up sang its song to you.
Ugh.
And what a friend showed me it, and I immediately got sucked in. Many nights I spent on it, and the price of sleep, hours from midnight to 6 a.m., the ISP would only charge 1 pulse per connection.
Oh, I forgot about the billing back then. Oh, God, yeah.
The first graphical MMORPG was Ultima Online. A private shard, though, was too young to have an international credit card to play on the official one. And the same friend of mine introduced me to it, and we had a blast luring PKers to city borders and having guards kill them to profit, selling their expensive armors and weapons.
And see, that's right when we stopped having people in MMOs that you could trust and depend on. It was
Ultima Online. So what? 1998.
That's the trigger year right there. 1998.
Meridian 59 was fine, but then we got to Ultima Online. People just became dicks.
Yep, that's when the trolls came.
Oh, okay.
Finish it off, Jason.
Neobari says, so Final Fantasy XI is my first modern MMO, and I used to play MUDs. So the answer to this week's question is EverQuest. Right, let's segue there. All right, I got into the EQ beta back in college. Due to most folks on dial-up, you actually got a beta CD, which I still have, but I had a lousy experience with it. Hundreds of people in Freeport killing starter mobs, having to stare at your magic book to get back magic points, getting totally lost in the big cities, having a ton of useless spells, force grouping all didn't sound like fun. So that old school play we have to get back to, guys. That's exactly what we want, right?
Let's go play DarkScape.
So I decided the game wasn't for me, and I didn't purchase it. Due to that, I feel that EverQuest saved my college career since I didn't pick up another MMO until after graduation. Thanks, EverQuest.
I don't think that's what game companies are looking for as a sales pitch.
That's not a good Yelp review. I'm saying.
I'm glad I didn't play MMOs until I was 30 years old.
That's not a good Yelp
high
review.
school and college would have been terrible.
Oh God, I nearly ruined my college career just with regular internet chat rooms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same here. Yep.
As the modem sang the song of its people to Q.
Well, no, this was in school internet, but I would spend 8 hours a day in the lab on campus.
My son was asking me the other day because he had heard a joke about a modem and a dial-up modem, and he was like, "Why did it make those sounds?" And I'm like trying to explain to a 14-year-old why outdated technology needed to do weird things at the time. It eventually just boiled down to because that's what it does. That's what it does. It's making a phone call and it has to secure it, and that's just what it does. Remember car alarms at the same time, roughly the same time, that all had the same sequence of sounds?
Why did they call it dial-up when you push the buttons on the phone?
Womp, womp, womp. Go ahead, Q.
When I was in high school in marching band, we would march to the field from the band hall and set off all the car alarms in the parking lot.
Question of the week for next week. We talked about it earlier today. Tell me your most nostalgic MMO moment. You guys know what I mean, right? That boss you took down in that raid, the epic PvP comeback, the social event you held with your guildies, whatever it was. We want to know about that moment that sticks with you and you would love to have in an MMO again tomorrow. Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to put your weekly bombs down there. Da bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. Until next week, Jason, where can everybody find you?
Find me on the Twitters at WinterInformal, and of course, espousing various views on mmobomb.com.
Particularly Armored Warfare. Q?
On Twitter at Quintlin, and floating around on GameSkidding, occasionally writing some reviews and game guides.
And there's Domino taking a nap.
And you'll find Domino in the box.
I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magicman. You can follow me on Twitter at Magicman1, MAGICKMANN1, or come on over to MMOBomb.com, check out the first looks, articles, giveaways, all the other good stuff we got going there. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.
You can also find me on Twitter at Anderson Trooper.